What's going on, everybody? Harrison here, the Arabian Pleb. Welcome to the Arabian Pleb show, show number 19. Just wanted to get on to do another recording, try and keep the consistency up. I've got a fan going in the background, so forgive me. Hopefully it doesn't sound like shit, but it's fucking hot and it's fucking humid, and it'd be damn near impossible to do this without the fan. So sorry about that. And also sorry about all the boxes in the background. They've been there for the last several shows, and I have failed to mention why that is. I'm moving houses very soon, so I'm just gearing up for that. So sorry, forgive me, but it's how it has to be right now. Not too much, I don't know, like exciting things to talk about, I suppose, or like explosive things. There's always like shit going on, but nothing too like juicy, so to speak. Like nothing that's going to be too clickbaity and go viral. Not going to talk about any big names that gets my channel more views. but yeah, I just thought I'd go through just the day-to-day reporting that's been happening on antiwar.com. Maybe we can look at the markets and look at some charts and shit like that. What the fuck else has been happening? I've just been fucking busy, man. I've been so fucking busy. A lot of work, a lot of deliveries, a lot of travel, and then just messing around at the new house, trying to get that all sorted. It's all finished, so the house is completely built and all the infrastructure's done, like stormwater and drainage and sewer and crap like that. And now it's just paperwork. Now it's just getting it past the gangsters in council to allow me to live on my own property. So that's fun. But without further ado, let's get over to antiwar.com and see what's being reported on over there. And here we are. And we've got the headlines here. Study, IDF killed more than 100,000 in Gaza. Let's have a little read of that. If it'll let me click on it. All right. Israeli forces likely killed more than 100,000 Palestinians in Gaza. The study also found that the age and gender distribution of violent deaths closely resembles patterns observed in several genocides. And this article is by Dave DeCamp, November 25th. More than 100,000 Palestinians have likely been killed by Israeli forces in Gaza, according to a research team from the Germany-based Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research, MPIDR. A study conducted by the MPIDR and the Center for Demographic Studies estimates that from October 7th, 2023 to the 31st of December, 2024, 78,318 people were killed by violence in Gaza, a significantly higher number than what Gaza's health ministry was reporting at the time. So that's that's fucking fucked. That's so fucked up. But that's super interesting because a lot of the Hezbollah propaganda talking points from the Israelis or the Israeli supporters has been that you can't trust Hamas, and they're the ones running the health ministry in Gaza, so all their numbers are bullshit. But what had been verified time and time again by different independent sources was that it was very likely that the Gaza Health Ministry numbers were understated because they could only count the number of dead judged off like the people that are coming into hospital and dying. And so therefore they're not accounting for anyone who's like fucking buried under rubble. And clearly there's going to be a lot of fucking people buried under rubble if you just look at what Israel has done over the last 2+ years. They're just leveling the place. There's fucking building after building just fucking decimated and collapsed and piles of rubble everywhere. And it was safe to assume that it's very likely there's a lot of people trapped under there that aren't accounted for. So Yeah, fuck, man. Quote, an update of their analysis produced after the publication of the study revealed that the current violent death toll likely exceeds 100,000, end quote, the Max Planck Society said in an article on the study. Just look at that. That's fucked up. God's chosen people, everybody. They can do what they want. And this is just explaining that shot there. The drone view shows destruction in a residential neighborhood following the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the area in Gaza City, 12th of October, 2025. Just got to clear my throat. Yeah, so fuck. The research aligns with two other studies on the Gaza death toll, which have found the real number of violent deaths is likely around 40% higher than what the Gaza Health Ministry had reported. The latest update from the Health Ministry said its death toll has reached 69,775. And most of that are women and children. The studies deal only with violent deaths, not indirect deaths caused by Israeli siege and destruction of Gaza's infrastructure. Oh, okay, so maybe they're not even counting people fucking trapped under rubble. Quote, our estimates of the impact of war on life expectancy in Gaza and Palestine are significant, but probably represent only a lower limit of the actual mortality burden. Our analysis focuses exclusively on direct conflict-related deaths, the direct effect of war, which are often greater and more long-lasting, are not quantified in our considerations, end quote, said Ana C. Gomez Ugarte. Sorry for fucking up your name there, no doubt. A researcher from MPIDR who was involved in the study. The MPIDR study found that life expectancy in Gaza in 2024 dropped to nearly half the level it was before the 7th of October 2023. Quote, as a result of this unprecedented mortality, life expectancy in Gaza fell by 44% in 2023 and by 47% in 2024, compared with what it would have been without the war, equivalent to losses of 34.4 and 36.4 years, respectively, end quote, Gomez Ugarte. The researchers also found that, quote, age and gender distribution of violent deaths in Gaza between 7th of October 2023 and 31st of December 2024 closely resemble the demographic patterns observed in several genocides documented by the United Nations Interagency Group for Child Mortality Estimation, UNIGME, end quote. The study used a statistical method that accounts for uncertainties caused by limited data availability and draws on data from several public sources, including Gaza's health ministry, the Israeli rights group, I can't pronounce these fucking Middle Eastern names and Hebrew names, Selem, the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics, and UN agencies. And actually, this has just reminded me of a clip I should show, which was pretty fascinating. And I'll just pull that up now. Just give us 1 second. Here's a clip from the Rubin Report. So this is Dave Rubin interviewing Piers Morgan. Dave Rubin on his own show getting fucking shamed and humiliated. This is classic. So this clip's going pretty viral at the moment. Let's check it out.
You acknowledge that there's been no starvation, correct?
No.
You don't acknowledge
I
that?
don't acknowledge that.
Where are the videos and images of the starving Gazans?
Well, I've seen a lot, but you would dismiss them all as fakes. The UN says there was starvation, but you guys don't believe a word the UN says. The other official bodies say there was starvation. You don't want to hear a word they say. Israel denies everything. You can say that no Gazan has starved at all. The reports by almost every official body say the opposite, but you don't believe them. However, the best way to get to the truth is let journalists who are used to covering in war zones, let them go in and do their job, particularly now we have the ceasefire. There is a reason the Israeli government is not letting the media in. They are terrified about what the world will uncover.
I just think that's just nuts.
Well, let them in.
I just think
there's one way to find out.
A lot of them look fat. They have fresh clothes
I've
and
seen
fresh
lots
haircuts.
of images of Palestinians looking hungry.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't dispute that 20,000 plus children have died, right?
So whose fault is that? I mean,
you don't honestly think that life for a young Palestinian kid in Gaza in the last 2 years has been anything but utter hell-y. I do believe the 3-month blockade earlier this year was a criminal blockade. I believe it was deliberate starvation of a people, deliberately denying them food and aid. If you
has any other country in the history of the world been told to feed the people that are killing it?
If you look at the Geneva Convention, actually, but then no other country in the world has had the control that Israel has over Gaza, right? Well, which again is a whole separate issue. Show me another moment in the 75-year conflict where the response has been to kill 60 times as many people, and where you have hang on, let me finish. Where you have a government with people like Smodrich and Ben-Gvir who begin publicly, openly talking about ethnically cleansing all the Palestinians from Gaza, about annexing the West Bank, about taking complete control of all of it, to the point that Donald Trump had to step in and say that is not happening.
Random ministers
they're not random ministers.
About,
they're not two of the most senior people in the government.
No, but them talking about things is different. I mean,
I hear that a lot. Well, my point is this. You have a unique population in Gaza where half of them are under 18. There is a unique proportion of kids in this part of the world, right? So at what point do you try and find a different way to resolve this? The only solution that seemed to be being offered by Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smodrich and the others was to raise Gaza to the floor and to expel all Palestinians.
So,
Netanyahu would annex West Bank tomorrow.
He's been in power for 20-something years. He could have done it any point. Notice he hasn't. I mean,
come on.
No, but there's a couple things here. I mean, first off, I don't think any country in the world has ever been asked to feed the people that are holding its hostage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever called for any other country to do that, or anyone?
Well, okay,
has anyone ever called for that?
Well, British prisoners of war in World War II were fed.
Yeah. But
what's the difference?
What?
Prisoners of war in World War II were fed, so what's the difference?
Because they were holding hostages. They're holding their people. I mean, to me, it seems that you as a British citizen...
British people were being held hostage in Nazi prison. The Israeli government, which is a hard-right government, Smodrich and Ben-Gvir are not just right-wing, they're absolute far-right headbangers.
But meaning what? Meaning what? They have to
meaning what? They want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people. Come on, Dave, they do.
They're in the government and they haven't taken an extra inch of the West Bank. They're not.
Well, actually, that's not true.
They haven't.
They've been expanding settlements left, right, and centre.
They haven't.
Yes, they have.
Piers, they
you know they have.
Piers, have you been to the West Bank?
You don't think there's been any expansion of settlements on the West Bank?
They build apartments.
Have you been there? Have you been there?
They build apartments in current places.
Has there been an aggressive expansion of settlements in the West Bank during this war?
An aggressive expansion of settlements
in the West Bank during this war?
No, 100% not.
Dave, there has been. You see everything to the prism of... There's nothing to see here, Gus.
No.
Israel has done no wrong.
No.
Have they done any wrong?
I don't know how to conduct a war exactly, but I know that if...
It's not my question. Has the Israeli government done anything wrong in the way they prosecuted this war?
Not that I know of.
This war didn't start on October the 7th. This is a conflict that's been going on for 7 decades.
Yeah, so Dave Rooms is a fucking retard. He's so fucking dumb, dude. It's almost, I feel bad almost fucking just showing that shit because it's just so embarrassing. Right, yeah, then let's get back to antiwar.com. Where are we up to? Okay. Heavy rain floods Gaza camps as UN warns of bleak situation. All right. So this is an article from Middle East Eye. Okay. Let's see. I need to zoom in because I'm getting old. Okay, so this is published 25th November. I don't know who wrote it. Hopefully we'll find out in a moment. Winter looms over 1.7 million displaced people as Israeli siege fuels shortages of shelter, food, and medical supplies. Oh, man. Heavy rain submerged displaced tents in the Gaza Strip on Tuesday, deepening the suffering of Palestinians already struggling with the hardship of being uprooted. The downpour turned camps in the Al-Mawasi area of Khan Yunis into pools of mud and water, making movement nearly impossible, local media reported. Floodwater seeped into many tents, endangering families and their few remaining belongings. Got a stiff neck. I think it's stress related, my neck issue, because it's been going on for like pretty much ever since I started building my house. I don't know. Anyway, it's a me problem. Cold weather has compounded the misery of children and the elderly amid severe shortages of blankets, winter clothing, and heating. Weather conditions are worsening an already dire humanitarian crisis for hundreds of thousands of displaced people. Israel's 2-year genocidal war on Gaza has destroyed nearly 300,000 homes, forcing almost all of the territory's 2.3 million residents into displacement. At the same time, Israel's blockade has restricted the entry of tents, mobile homes, winter clothing, and heating equipment. The ceasefire agreement signed with Hamas last month stipulated that around 300,000 tents and mobile homes should be allowed in. However, Israel continues to block the majority of essential shelter items. Who can support these fucking scumbags, dude? It's so fucked up. Ramzi Al-Akbarov, UN Deputy Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, warned that the situation in Gaza remains, quote, bleak, end quote. He called for an urgent international effort to scale up humanitarian assistance as people continue to endure, quote, unbearable living conditions, end quote. He said over 1.7 million people remain displaced, many crammed into shelters with limited access to water, food, and medical care. Quote, the UN and its partners are still facing major challenges in providing shelter materials such as tents and blankets, Al-Akbarov said. Quote, as we enter the winter months, these delays must be urgently resolved, end quote. He added that the hospitals continue to struggle without reliable electricity and water, urging Israel to expand crossing capacity and expedite the clearance of supplies, including UN aid. Gaza's government media office said Israel is allowing just 200 aid trucks a day, far below the 600 agreed under the ceasefire. It's called the violations, quote, clear evidence of a continuing deliberate starvation policy, end quote. So fucked up, dude. UN condemns torture, but US and Israel oppose resolution. White House backs Witkoff after leaked call. Zelensky wants to meet with Trump as soon as possible. Of course he fucking does, little weasel prick. US B-52 bomber flies near Venezuela's coast. May as well have a read of that one. US B-52 bomber flies near Venezuela for a second time within 5 days. US bomber flights over the Caribbean have become a regular occurrence amid the US military build-up in the region and push towards war with Venezuela. By Dave DeCamp, 25th of November. A US bomber flew near the coast of Venezuela on Monday, flight tracking data shows, as such flights have become a regular occurrence amid the US military build-up in the Caribbean and push towards war to oust Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. According to Air and Space Force magazine, 2 B-52 bombers left Minot Air Force Base, with one turning back and the other heading to the Caribbean, where it flew near Venezuela's coast just north of the capital Caracas, while accompanied by U.S. Navy FA-18 fighter jets. And I guess here's the tracking. 75,000 plus people are tracking a B-52 Strato Fortress with 2 FA-18 Super Hornets just north of Caracas, Venezuela. And I guess this is it here. Yeah, fuck. All right, let's continue on. Just a few days earlier, on the 20th of November, 2 B-52 bombers made the flight near Venezuela and were joined by FA-18s dispatched from the USS Gerald Ford, a US aircraft carrier that recently arrived in the region. The US first began flying bombers near Venezuela's coast in mid-October, and the flights have occurred weekly since then. The bombers keep their transporters on when flying near Venezuela, meaning they want to be seen. The US military has called the flights bomber attack demos. The provocative flights come as the US has been conducting a bombing campaign against alleged drug-running boats in the region amid reports that the Trump administration is considering launching a war with Venezuela, which would be illegal without congressional authorization as per the US Constitution. US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has dubbed the military campaign, quote, Operation Southern Spear, end quote, and has vowed it will continue. The operation has also involved increasing US military drills in Trinidad and Tobago, which is just a few miles from Venezuela's coast. Savage. Rand Paul warns Trump war in Venezuela will fracture movement. Lebanon, Israel killed 127 civilians since truce. Pro-government militias attack Alawite civilians in Syria's Latakia. AFRICOM confirms 101st airstrike in Somalia. They've just been bombing the crap out of Somalia. Epstein aided attack on Mearsheimer's Israel lobby. Oh, I've got to read that. I haven't read Mearsheimer's Israel lobby yet, but I do have it. I got it for my birthday last year, maybe last year. But as it goes with people who like to read books, I just can never get through enough of them. I keep buying more and more books, and I'm a slow reader, so it takes me a long time to get through each one. So the pile just continues to grow, but that's okay, because that's what it's all about. All right. Jeffrey Epstein aided Alan Dershowitz's attack on Mearsheimer and Waltz's Israel lobby. So this is a drop site. Drop site is a reader. Okay, so this is drop site news. So they have been doing a lot of reporting on all this Epstein stuff. Harvard University endorsement from Epstein. How good. Where are we? In March 2006, the Harvard Kennedy School published a working paper, quote, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, by influential political scientists John Mearsheimer and Stephen Waltz. The paper, which ran in the London Review of Books and became the basis for a book published the following year, was an unflinching analysis of the impact of pro-Israel advocacy and lobbying groups in the US political system, and the role of organizations like the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, and shaping US foreign policy towards the Middle East. Or in shaping US foreign policy towards the Middle East, Mearsheimer and Waltz described a loose coalition of philanthropists, think tanks, advocacy groups, and Christian Zionist organizations that routinely pulled US foreign policy towards the Middle East away from America's national interest, as the US was being drawn into a military quagmire in Iraq. Quote, other special interest groups have managed to skew US foreign policy in directions they favoured, end quote, Waltz and Mearsheimer wrote, quote, but no lobby has managed to divert US foreign policy as far from the American national interest would otherwise suggest, while simultaneously convincing Americans that that US and Israeli interests are essentially identical, end quote. Even before the Kennedy School posted the paper online, the project had already spooked editors at The Atlantic, who originally commissioned the essay in the early 2000s. In an interview with Tucker Carlson earlier this year, Mearsheimer revealed that the editor of The Atlantic offered them a $10,000 kill fee if the publication didn't print the article. Mearsheimer said, quote, that's the fastest 10,000 we ever made, end quote. The paper was written by two highly esteemed scholars of international relations. Walt had been serving since 2002 as academic dean at Harvard's Kennedy School, as prestigious an appointment as existed in the field, and Mearsheimer taught at the University of Chicago. But the backlash against it was swift, intense, and unusually public in the world of academia. A wave of news articles described the authors as anti-Semites. I'm pretty sure Mearsheimer's a Jew, while the I could have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure, while the Anti-Defamation League weighed in to denounce what they called an, quote, anti-Jewish screed, end quote. The pressure became so intense that the Kennedy School removed its logo from the paper and added a disclaimer distancing the institution from its arguments. Unknown at the time, Jeffrey Epstein gave feedback on talking points to discredit Mearsheimer and Waltz, and used his extensive social network to calculate allegations of anti-Semitism against the two scholars. Details of Epstein's role in the backlash to the, quote, Israel lobby paper, end quote, came from a trove of emails obtained by the non-profit whistleblower organization Distributed Denial of Secrets and provided to Dropsite News. The emails from Epstein's Yahoo account have been covered in part by Bloomberg, but his correspondence over Walt and Mearsheimer's work has not previously been reported. Bloomberg conducted cryptographic verification on the email catch that they said, quote, strongly authenticated a portion of the emails and corroborated sources of important enclosures and found no meaningful evidence of fakery, end quote, though evidence suggests that some emails were deleted. The source for the DDoS catch stated that they were not the source of Bloomberg. A statement DDoS said is supported by slight variations in the scope of the email tranche. The catch showed that during the first week of April 2006, Epstein received multiple early drafts of an attack piece by Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz titled, quote, Debunking the Newest and Oldest Jewish Conspiracy, end quote. In it, Dershowitz, who also served as Epstein's defense attorney in his criminal matters, accused Mearsheimer and Walt of recycling, quote, discredited trash, end quote, from neo-Nazi and Islamist websites, accusing them of authoring a modern counterpart to the protocols of the Elders of Zion. Epstein responded to Dershowitz's email, quote, terrific, congratulations, sick, end quote. And this looks like the email's here. Please print this off. Note, forwarded message attached. Mr. Epstein, here's an updated version of Professor Dershowitz's rebuttal. Best, Mitch. A few hours later, Epstein received another message from Dershowitz's email address, signed off by an assistant. The assistant asked Epstein to help circulate copies of the attack piece, writing, quote, Jeffrey, were you going to distribute this for Alan? If I should forward this to someone in your office, please let me know, end quote. Epstein replied in the affirmative, yes, I've started, quote, yes, I've started, end quote. Lol. There it is. Despite holding no formal role, Epstein was a powerful figure at Harvard. He had spent years cultivating relationships at the university, donating more than $9 million between 1998 and 2008, and positioning himself as a fixer and patron of high-profile academics, including Dershowitz and economist Larry Summers, who was the president of Harvard at the time. At the time, Epstein served as trustee and president of the family financial office of billionaire fashion tycoon Leslie Wexner, which donated nearly $20 million to the Kennedy School between 2000 and 2006. The Harvard Gazette described the Wexner Foundation's contributions as, quote, underwriting core operating expenses, end quote, for the school. The foundation also funded a visiting scholar program, the Wexner Israel Fellowship Program, which allowed 10 Israeli government officials to attend the Kennedy School each year for a one-year master's degree. The behind-the-scenes campaign of subversion ironically affirmed the key tenets of the Walt and Mearsheimer paper. In other words, wealthy and well-connected men were deploying their financial resources and connections in order to undercut a paper claiming that wealthy and well-connected men were using their wealth and financial resources for the benefit of the state of Israel and against the interest of the United States. That's so fucking classic, dude. Oh, it's so funny. How much more is there to go? I just read that. The consequences of a coordinated smear campaign by elite members of media and academia were dire for Mearsheimer and Walt. The Chicago Council of Global Affairs cancelled a scheduled talk by the pair in 2007 after pressure from pro-Israel supporters. Other institutions that previously welcomed them to speak now insisted that any appearance be, quote, balanced, end quote, by an opposing speaker who was sympathetic to Israel. The backlash narrowed their platform in mainstream media, academia, and think tanks for years, while making public appearances more difficult. In recent years, Mearsheimer has gained a new audience thanks to the profusion of independent media and YouTube channels where he has appeared as a commentator. Quote, I'm not surprised to see these emails because Dershowitz and Epstein were close and both have a passionate attachment to Israel, end quote, Mearsheimer told Dropsite. Walt declined to comment. And injustice is about to be done. During the very same week, Epstein and Dershowitz were coordinating an effort to ruin the academic careers of Walt and Mearsheimer, the convicted sex offender who was also discussing with his lawyer strategies for destroying the credibility of a young woman who had accused Epstein of sexual abuse. The case has since garnered significant international attention. It is disconnected from the response to Waltz and Mearsheimer, but in hindsight, it is startling to see that the men working behind the scenes to undercut the paper were simultaneously engaged in a campaign to discredit a child accuser of a man child accuser of a man who would become globally notorious in years to come. In 2005, Epstein came to the attention of the Palm Beach Police Department after a 16-year-old girl and her family reported a sexual assault 2 years earlier at his mansion in El Brillo Way. The investigation eventually identified dozens of alleged victims over the following year, and Epstein's case was taken to the state's attorney, Barry Christier. On the 10th of April 2006, 5 days after Dershowitz published his response to the Israel Lobby working paper, Epstein sent Dershowitz, who was also his lawyer, some information obtained by a private investigator to consider sharing it with the state's attorney to undermine testimony against him. The letter from Epstein accused his underage accuser of consuming drugs, shoplifting, and engaging in other sexual activities, arguing that the dirt he had obtained undermined her character and credibility. He also attacked the personal history of her family members. The financier and power broker also expressed disappointment that he was still facing legal scrutiny for his actions at all. Epstein Epstein remonstrated. I don't know what that word means. Forgive me. Sorry about that. Epstein remonstrated the prosecutor, stating, quote, "I hope you recognize that I am quite surprised by the recent turn of events. After you advised me almost 2 months ago that I was just a chill advice I followed, and then was subsequently advised that you were now satisfied that the case was to fizzle," end quote. Epstein proposed asking Christier for an opportunity to come to Florida for a, quote, face-to-face all-hands meeting, end quote. Why the all-hands? Creep. Where he could present exculpatory evidence, end quote, prior to any grand jury. Epstein ultimately pleaded guilty to reducing state charges in 2008 in a widely controversial plea deal that immunized unnamed co-conspirators and saw him evade federal prosecution. He served only 13 months in the Palm Beach County Jail with 6 days per week or 12-hour work release outside the jail. His personal relationship with Summers went on seemingly unimpeded by his conviction and imprisonment for child sex abuse. Recent disclosures from the House Oversight Committee show that Epstein and Summers continued to communicate up until the time of his death in 2019, including messages the previous year in which Summers sought his romantic advice regarding an individual who he said viewed him as a mentor. The attacks against Walt and Mearsheimer, meanwhile, continued after they expanded their working paper into a book in 2007. Jeffrey Goldberg, writing for the New York Republic, Jeffrey Goldberg's a fucking scumbag. If you read Scott Horton's book enough already, Time to End the War on Terrorism, he just outlines how many fucking lies that asshole pushed to go to war to kill innocent people. Denounced them for anti-Semitism, compared their perspective to that of Osama bin Laden, and warned that its logic revived, quote, an ancient idea spread by anti-Jewish ideologues, the Jews operating in the shadows, manipulating Gentile leaders, end quote. It's so fucking, they just fucking accuse you of what they're guilty of. It's so fucking funny. And transparent, invoking a notorious anti-Semitic radio host from the 1930s to describe the scholars. Goldberg went on to proclaim that their book was, quote, the most sustained attack against the political enfranchisement of American Jews since the era of Father Coughlin, end quote. these attacks had a suitably chilling effect on the academy for years, where discussions about the influence of pro-Israel pressure groups remains taboo, despite the importance of the issue to U.S. foreign policy. In 2016, roughly a decade after the Atlantic backed out of publishing Walter Mearsheimer's article in the face of public pressure, Goldberg was named as editor-in-chief. Well, bunch of fucking pricks. Trump ordered 500 National Guard to DC after shooting of troops. Oh yeah, I did fucking see this. I did see this this morning when I woke up. 2 National Guard members shot in an ambush attack just blocks from the White House. Oof. Fuck me, dude. Let's see. Okay, this is from the AP. 2 West Virginia National Guard members who deployed to the nation's capital were shot Wednesday just blocks from the White House in a brazen act of violence that the mayor describes as a targeted attack. FBI Director Kash Patel and Washington Mayor Muriel Browser said they were hospitalized in critical condition. A rare shooting of National Guard members comes as the rare shooting of National Guard members comes as the presence of the troops in the nation's capital, and other cities around the country have been a flashpoint issue for months, fueling court fights and a broader public policy debate about the Trump administration's use of the military to combat what officials cast as an out-of-control crime problem. Oh, this could be used as a fucking justification to really fucking do some fucked up shit. It's probably likely that's going to happen. That's usually how government works. Jeffrey Carroll, an executive assistant DC police chief, said investigators had no information on a motive. He said the assailant, quote, came around the corner, end quote, and immediately started firing at the troops, citing video reviewed by investigators. This was a targeted shooting, Bowser said. There's a video here. Maybe we should watch it.
Shortly after 2:15 p.m. on Wednesday, 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot approximately 3 blocks from the White House, according to West Virginia Governor Morrisey. The suspect who fired the shots was also wounded in the incident, but does not have life-threatening injuries, according to law enforcement authorities. We're at Connecticut and I Street at one of the most secure residences on the planet. And this area where I am is also one of the most heavily patrolled by an alphabet soup of federal and local law enforcement officers, ranging from the Metropolitan Police to the Secret Service. The things, talking to one of the witnesses who said she just heard 2 boom booms. She was stunned because she recognized this wasn't one of those areas either. And what caught her off guard most was then she saw small children running and people running. And she was thinking about, it's Thanksgiving, it's the holiday season, and it's a beautiful day.
Heavy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Yeah, fuck. All right, that's it for all the headlines on antiwar.com. Yeah, I was going to have a quick look at the markets. I mean, I may as well now. I've got it up. I was about to say I'm not going to, but... Oh, fuck. I better now, because I've got it right here. I'm showing you. Gold in Aussie dollars. just consolidation, bit of coin flip territory. Could go either way. $6,336 currently in US dollars, very similar. $4,153. Yeah, that's pretty much all that's worth looking at. Well, everything else is fucking shit. Bitcoin's getting wrecked, trying to recover, but looking not great. But if you bought it when it was $3,500, you're fucking laughing, brah. All right, I gotta go have something to eat. I hope everybody has a lovely day. Hope you all find what you're looking for. And fucking don't forget to tell your loved ones that you love them. All right. Please like the video. Please share the video. Leave a comment. Give us some feedback. Tell me what you think. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Peace out, everyone. Have a great weekend. And I'll try to be back next week. I will be back next week. Hold me to it, fuckers. All right. Catch ya. Peace out.